We're back, folks. Today we're going to be talking about consistent theories of gender. Now, the first theory is that gender is immutable. There's really only two genders. Ew, that was an ugly F. Let's say, MF, and then occasionally you might get some weird stuff like hermaphrodites. X, Y, or whatever. Of course, the interesting thing to note here is that these other genders are not that interesting, or they're not independent of M and F. For example, someone with XXY can be thought of as having, half of XX and half of XY, if you will. So I guess what I'm trying to say is the genders are outside of M and F. All the other genders depend on M and F. Of course, gender here has the same meaning as sex. But let's talk about something maybe not as interesting, maybe more interesting. Let's talk popular culture gender theory. So this is based on two things. The first one is, how can we put this? The right to define your own gender. Alright, simple enough. Let's just make the text a little bigger. Okay. But that's not enough, or let's say this is enough. However, this isn't necessarily the popular view on gender. It has another part of the theory, which is others must support your decision. Now I could put something simple like, if you identify as female, people have to call you she, her, But, and then I could say, others' actions must support your decision. Not necessarily, because, that's not sufficient, because if you control people's actions, you also control their beliefs, because their beliefs could be they don't want to partake in certain actions. So, when you ask for control of actions, you're not only asking for control of actions, but also control of the mind. So, this could be put in another way as you have the right to determine people's views. Alright? So if you're female, if you consider yourself female, others have to think of you as female also. Now, there are, some interesting, using these two rules, we can create some interesting genders that usually are not talked about. Usually people either talk about male to female, female to male, or attack helicopters. But us, we're intellectuals. We're gonna avoid those genders, and we're gonna take a more what shall we say, academic approach. Okay, so here's a possible gender. I'll call it anti-field. Yeah, anti-field gender. So this gender, let's say this is a person, that double dot. Whoever has this gender, they create a field, and I haven't necessarily specified the size of that field, but whoever's in the field, their genders get swapped. Um, although maybe that's a little transphobic because, what if you don't believe in binary genders, Like, what if you're, like, third gender? So, unless they are non-binary, in which case they become attack helicopters. Okay, there we go. We've avoided being transphobic. So yeah, this is the anti-field gender. When you get close to people, you flip their genders. And if people don't accept that their genders have flipped, then, they're being, transphobic. Because you can define yourself as the anti-field gender, and then they have to support your views. Kind of like how you can change your gender and, have people call you she, her. So that's an interesting gender, the anti-field gender. But let's think of some other interesting genders. I don't know why this is lagging so much. Let's see if I close this. Leave. Is this gonna go faster now? No, it's still kind of slow. Whatever. So we could I don't know. Is there anything else that's interesting? I mean, you can pretty much do anything. You could say you're a wolf. Well, I guess I have an idea. Here we go. We have the creationist 6,000-year Earth gender. This gender, basically, you identify as someone who believes the Earth is 6,000 years old. So you can then say, well, everyone around you must refer to the age of the universe. Being divided by, okay, so, the universe is probably 14 billion years old. And, but you want to get that all into 6,000 years. So you take 14 billion, and then you divide it by, how would okay, so, so you divide by 14 billion, and then you multiply by 6,000. So, for example, let's say the Earth was formed 4 billion years ago. We get 4 billion divided by 14 billion times 6,000. And what is that? Let me check. So 4e to the 9 divided by 14e to the 9 times 6,000. 171. It seems kind of small. Oh. Okay. So you get 1,741 years ago. Which, of course, is before the birth of Jesus. But, whatever. For the sake of the matter, this is creation is 6,000 year Earth gender. Okay, so I guess I could draw a picture, but well, I guess I'll just draw the math equation. Anyway, but you know, maybe you want something better. You want the Earth to be created on the 4th day, and not so like close to 6,000 years ago. So instead, you would have something like logarithmic creation is 6,000 year Earth gender, where this equation involves a logarithm. But let's not worry about that right now. Dang it, I forgot to put the 6,000. Well, whatever. And you know, let's just do one more gender. We'll call it Russian collusion gender. Okay? And this, you know, so the thing about this gender is you identify as evidence of Russian collusion. So that when people talk about evidence, they have to cite your existence. Now you could be used as evidence for anything. You know, you could, well, I guess you could have multiple genders at once, but this is just an example of one of them. And in this case, you know, maybe the Mueller, whatever report on Russian interference is transphobic because you're not mentioned. Yeah, let's just draw a little Russian flag picture in monochrome, so it could honestly be one of many flags. But yeah, do you have your own gender you'd like to tell us about? Let us know.